Praise the Lord, everyone. This is Brother Glover. I'm just going to do a brief talk regarding digging deep for the tithe lie. Now, very few people realize that Paul never really preached to any of his churches or assemblies to tithe. He never told them to tithe, but yet many pastors will tell you he did. And what they would do, they would take you to 1 Corinthians 9th chapter. Now, if you have ever read 1 Corinthians 9th chapter, 1 Corinthians 9th chapter don't even mention the word tithe, or tithing, or tenths, or offerings. The word tithe is not found in 1 Corinthians at all, nor is it found in 2 Corinthians. Neither the word offering. Now the word the word collection is found in 1 Corinthians 16th chapter. One time. And it's talking about the collection for the poor saints in Jerusalem. I've done a video on that. Now, 1 Corinthians 9th chapter is a chapter that basically Paul is talking about his apostleship. He's defending his apostleships. Then after that, he talks about supporting the ministers. This is a favorite chapter of most pro-tithing preachers. Yet, remember now, you never do see the word tithes, tenth, or offerings mentioned here. So why do they say Paul told the Christian church to tithe? Well, let's read. I'm going to skip verses 1 to verses 3. He's defended his apostleship. I'm going to start reading at verse 4. I'm going to skip some verses for time. In verse 4, Paul is saying, have we no right to eat and to drink? All right. I'm going to skip verse 5. Then in verse 7, he said, who goeth to war at any time at his own expense? Who planted a vineyard and eateth not of his fruit? Or who feedeth a flock and eateth not of the milk of the flock? See? Now I'm going to skip to verse 9. For it is written in the law of Moses, thou shalt not muzzle an ox that treadeth out the corn. Does God take care of the oxen? See? Now I'm going to skip verse 10 to verse 11. All right? Paul said, if we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? See, Paul is talking about taking care of the preachers of the gospel. He is. Now, verse 12. Then Paul changes it and said, if others be partakers of this right over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this right, but bear all things lest we should hinder the gospel of Christ. See, Paul is telling the Corinthian church, yes, you should take care of the preachers. You should feed the preachers. Then he says, but I'm not putting you under pressure. I'm not saying that this should be done unto me. I'm not trying to pressure you to give me anything. Now, verse 13. Do you not know that they who minister about holy things live of the things of the temple, and they who wait at the altar are partakers with the altar? Now, this is where it gets deep. Because what is Paul talking about here? He's talking about the Levites ministering in the temple under the old covenant. They received offerings and tithes in the service of the temple. And they partook of a portion of those offerings and tithes to sustain themselves as well as them and their families. I've already done a video on it. When you read Numbers 18 chapter, the whole chapter, it talks about sin offerings, grain offerings, wave offerings, and another offering. I can't remember, but it's 4 different offerings. And all those offerings is food, not money. Then it talks about tithing, but those grain offerings and whatever else, all those different offerings, 4 different offerings, was used in temple rituals, as well as a portion of it was eaten by the Levites and their families, as well as the tithe. It clearly says in either 4 or 5 times in Numbers 18 chapter, you shall eat it, you shall eat it. It didn't say you shall spend it, it says you shall eat it. Okay? Now, then Paul says, even so as the Lord ordained, that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. Stop right there. And this is what preachers use. They take you back to the Old Testament. They take you back to Numbers 18 of the Levites ministering in the temple. Now, like I told you, you cannot find the word tithes, tenth, or offerings in this chapter. It's not mentioned here. It's not even mentioned in the entire 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians. So what preachers did, they went back and dug up tithes and offerings. Brought it out of Numbers in the Old Testament. Showed it to you. I showed it to the people of his congregation. It's full of dust. I mean, it's been buried now. It's under the old covenant. It's dead and buried. So what these preachers do, they bring it up and they just shake it in front of these people. It's full of dust. And it's dust all over the place. He's telling them, see, it's right here. Paul said, those who ministered in the temple receive of what was done in the temple. Do you not know that they who ministered about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they who wait at the altar are partakers of the altar. See, those was tithes and offerings. And he just shaking it, dust flying all over their faces. All in the hair, all in the mouths, in the eyes. Paul said it. It's right here. 1 Corinthians 9 chapter, verse 13. Like they ministered in the temple, we as preachers of the gospel, we are ministering to you in this church. You're supposed to support us with your tithes and offerings, just like the Israelites supported the Levites under the old covenant. And he just shaking those dead tithes and offerings that's been buried. Been buried. It's been buried. But he just go and dig it up, show it to their congregation, then shake it in front of their faces. Dust all over the place. See, he should have just left it alone. He could mention it, no problem. But he shouldn't have brought it into the new covenant. Paul didn't do that. Paul didn't mention tithes and offerings in this chapter or any other chapter. He didn't do it. Tithes and offerings was laid to rest with Jesus Christ. Tithes, food, products, and animals. Offerings, food, products, and animals. And see, the key is to verse 4, 9:4. Have we no right to eat and to drink? Paul is simply saying, feed the preacher. I have a video on it called Feed the Preacher. Because when Paul mentions Jesus Christ in the next verse, even so the Lord hath ordained that which preach the gospel should live of the gospel, or he's talking Luke 10. He's talking Matthew 10 and Luke 10. But if you read Luke 10 now, it's plain. I'm trying to get through it real quick here. Luke 10, almost there. Let's see. Luke 10. What verse should I use here? Ten 7. This is Jesus talking to the 70 others also. You know what? Let me back up. Luke 10:5. And to whatever house ye enter, first say peace to this house. Verse 6. And if the Son of Peace be there, your peace shall rest upon you. And if not, it shall turn into you again. Verse 7. And in the same house remain, eating and drinking such things as they give. For the laborer is worthy of his hire. Go not from house to house. Verse 8. And to whatever city ye enter, and they receive you, eat such things that are set before you. See, notice what Jesus Christ said. When you go into a home, remain in a house, eating and drinking, whatever they give you. Don't be running from house to house, trying to get more food. Don't be greedy. Then he said, for the labor is worthy of his hire. Jesus Christ was talking about feeding the preachers. He didn't say anything about giving them money. I've already said in the previous video, Matthew 10, he clearly says that if people, Jews, or at that time, if you want to give them silver, gold, that's up to you. But Jesus was clearly saying feed the preacher. He didn't say give them money. See, why? Eating and drinking, for the labor is worthy of his hire. See, preachers don't stress that. They changed the money because they said that under the old covenant, it was more of a monetary system. I'm sorry, it was more of a agricultural system than a monetary system. People, please. They had money like crazy under the old covenant. I looked it up. I looked up money, silver, gold, and shekels, which is a certain weight of money, 900 times, over 900 times under the old covenant. We have a monetary system and an agricultural system here in America. You can't go nowhere. Supermarkets and gas stations, everywhere. Food is everywhere. All over the place. Please. So that's what preachers do. They went and dug up, or they go and dig up tithes and offerings here. All the dust from it and shake it in front of people's faces and tell them, you see here? You see? Just like the old covenant Levites were supported by the tithes and the offerings, you know, your personal income, your income, whatever you get, you need to support me as your pastor. I'm sorry, people, but it's amazing how people can be fooled. Dug it up and shaking it in front of people's faces when Paul never did mention tithes and offerings here. Paul let it stay buried. Yes, the Old Testament Levites received food and drink from the tithes and offerings. But Paul is simply saying, just like Jesus said, feed the preacher. Feed me. And it'll be all right. God will take care of me. God bless.